Welcome to Shit Your Mama Should Have Told You and More. I am Ramel, and my co-hosts are Alex and Simone. Uh, we also have Aiden joining us for this topic today. Um, One of the things I want to talk about, guys, is parenting styles, and how you feel you're doing in parenting. Um, there is there's a description of parenting styles. They say there's four: authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and the uninvolved parent. And I think I have a combination parenting style. Um, I think I'm very authoritarian. Sometimes I can be like, I don't really care what you feel. That's the authoritarian style. And then the authoritative style is, I take your feelings into consideration, but I'm still the one in charge. And then permissive is, you set the rules, but you don't enforce them. And of course, we know the uninvolved parent just don't give a fuck. Um, Children just usually just run amok. What do you think you are, Alex? What's your style?
Uh, Authoritative.
Okay.
Um, in a world where that girls are supposed to be dainty as soft in a way, I'm trying to raise them to have a little tougher skin.
Okay.
To be able to take being told in a way where you may not like how it's being told, but it's going to be yes, okay, go and do it. Because my theory is, I know as a parent, I'm supposed to supply things, I'm supposed to do things for you, but I also have to teach you how to earn your way, how to earn
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think at a young age it's too early to start doing that. As a kid who grew up raised by his grandma, that was actually hello.
Yeah, we're here.
No, my earbuds just went power off, so I'm confused.
Oh.
Um, so I guess they're no longer working. As a kid who grew up with his grandma, who was considered her ninth child, who was basically raised by a 64-year-old woman who was able to run amok and do what I want. And by the time I was a teenager, my curfew was to be home. By the time my dad went to work, and that was 5:30 a.m. On
What?
a school night.
Who
Yeah.
the hell allows a child to stay out all night long?
Oh, I didn't. That was more in my 16 once I was driving during the summer.
Mm.
But yeah, during the school night, he was like, "Well, just get your ass in here, get your ass to school, and stay
Wow.
out of jail." But I'm raising mine in an authoritarian way, but I'm also not going to sugarcoat and be naive. I'm just going to keep it real with her. So I don't know what style I fall into. Just doing my thing and doing what I think is best at the end of the day, and let other people judge my parents' style.
So, who do you think is the permissive parent in your household? You or Aisha? Who's the one that the kid's going to go to and say, I really want to do this? And
Mom.
so they go to her.
Well, maybe
Okay.
no. Here's why, and it's not because they are afraid to come to me. It's mainly because she's home.
Right.
I'm
Right.
working. I'm out. I'm doing, taking care, providing for the family in different ways. So she's the one who, oversees the household and what they need to be done. And no,
Right.
don't get me wrong. She's not going to say, yes, you could do it. Then come tell me, oh, she's doing this. Okay, Abby wants to do this. What do you think? Do you think we should? Pros and
Right.
cons. And then we
Right.
discuss it. And then we make a decision together. But yeah, when she wanted to do gymnastics, she told Aisha, and then yeah, she mentioned me. I'm gonna do gymnastics. Mommy's looking up gymnastics. And, okay.
Right. Okay. So Simone, um, where do you fall in the parenting style? Because I've seen some of your style a little bit just from afar when we were at work. Who, what do you think you are? You think you're an authoritarian, authoritative, permissive? I know you're not uninvolved, so we can just take that one off the table. Which one are you? And who's the softer side? You or Jesse? Who's the one the kids are
I'm
going to go to and run over?
I am definitely authoritative. I am definitely the one that takes into consideration the feelings of the children. I take into consideration how how their emotions are being affected. So when Bella was younger, I was always the one that's like, Jesse, relax, calm down. And it's like, oh, well, she needs this type of discipline. I'm like, I do understand. However, you also have to understand, like, as a father, you can't be quite as hard on her because you're going to affect her emotions and her feelings in a different way. So as she got older, um, it kind of switched because now she's growing into a young lady, and now I'm a little bit stricter on her because I'm like, there's certain things you just can't, I'm just not allowing. Like there's certain things, even just the small stuff, like put a bra on in the morning. I don't care. And she's like, well, I don't need a bra. I'm like, well, you're at the age that you need a bra now. So just little stuff like that, I get a little bit nitpicky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm always taking into consideration her feelings and emotions. And we also talk a lot. Like we talk a lot with her. Now, when it comes to Taj, I'm not gonna lie, I'm the typical boy mom or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
He just grins and blows a kiss, and I'm just like, oh.
Exactly. I know that feeling. So, Aiden, what do you think about my parenting style? What do you think is the style? Authoritative, authoritarian, where I just don't consider children should be seen and not heard. Do what I say and nothing else. That's authoritarian. And authoritative is I explain the reason why I set the rules the way I do, and I take your feelings into consideration, although it may not change anything. Am I permissive? Do I just let you get away with everything like sunshine is just falling out your
No,
ass?
no.
He said that
Or
real quick.
so Aiden is 19 now, but I still feel like I'm doing a lot of parenting, and I don't know how you feel about it. What do you think?
Well, to answer your first question, I think you're very authoritative. That's what it is. What was the first one?
The authoritarian is I don't take your feelings into consideration at all.
No, you do, but
Uh
I
oh.
will say you do take my feelings in consideration, but it'll you'll take them into consideration, but it'll be okay. You're still gonna do this. You're still gonna do what I say. So it doesn't really matter. You're not permissible. You don't just let stuff slide. I don't think you ever let anything really slide for real, for real.
Damn.
But it's that's expected of you. And then, so I think the first two.
So I'm a combination of the first two.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of felt like. I'm a combination. So how do you feel that's impacted you? Because one of the reasons I'm talking about this is seeing looking at myself and seeing how I impact my children's lives, and everything that the decisions that I've made that I thought were right may not necessarily be right. Um, does that make me a bad parent? Because, I'm the one that's in control and I'm making decisions that impact you that may not be correct.
Um,
Don't call
it.
her a bad parent in front of her.
I'm not. I wasn't gonna do. I wasn't gonna say that. No, I don't think it's bad parenting at all. It's just we already had talks about this, and you kind of were saying like you don't like parenting doesn't come with like a guide, like a 101 book. So that's like understandable. You were just doing what you felt was right. It. I feel like it could be a lot worse, where like you were just a not involved parent, didn't care. But I do see like for all three of us, for me, Morgan and Rasan, you cared deeply about us, and even when we thought you were doing stuff that wasn't in our best interest, it always was, even if we didn't understand it. Like I know you, like now you do stuff that's in my best interest, and I'm just like, why is she doing that? Like I don't understand that. Like why is she saying this? Why is she doing this? But it it's really better for me because you, like you said, you have a lot more experience than I do. I'm really just getting up there, and not even up there in age, but I'm really just now becoming a young adult. So I haven't even really lived a whole bunch of life, but I do see like in certain aspects why you do stuff, and why you say this, and it has shaped me like it has shaped my mind. Like even like when I'm at somebody's house or I'm at a friend's house or whatever the case is, I'm just like, all right, don't overstay. I always tell them like I don't want to overstay my welcome. But the reason I say that is because of you. Like you've said that before, like don't disrespect people when you go in their house, or don't overstay your welcome, don't stay there too long. Like I always just remember that in the back of my head. So that's like thanks to you. So it's like it is good stuff. Like it's not.
So, Simona, Alex, let me ask you. I know that when my kids were growing up, I would not allow them to go spend the night over somebody's house. I was always the house where I wanted people to bring their kids to my house so I can watch, because I know it wasn't going to be no child molestation going on in there and all that kind of stuff. How do you guys feel as parents about this spending the night at friends' houses? How do you feel about that? How will you handle that if you're, Alex, how will you handle that for your girls? How will you handle that for Taj, Simone, as he grows up?
So I have experience with this because Bella's the only child. Well, I still call her the only child, and she's not the only child. But she was only,
What the hell?
Oh,
she,
oh boy. Oh boy.
she was the only child for 7.5 years. So it was a long time um, that she was by herself. And we really didn't have like much choice but to allow her to hang out with friends. As far as friends though, there's only one friend's house that she ever spent the night at. And it was just the girl and her mom. And they were literally like right around the corner. One other thing that we did though, we gave Bella a phone at a very young age. And I wasn't 100% like for sure that that's what I wanted to do. But in this day and age, I did feel like a phone would be best for her security. But the whole spending the night, she had that one friend's house she spent the night at, and then she has her cousins, so Jesse's nieces. There are three little girls, and she'll stay the night with them. But she also grew up with them as well. But it's not easy because when your kids are asking you to do something and you're telling them no, and then you're trying to explain to them like why it's a no, and they just don't understand. And some kids are very understanding, like Aiden sounds very understanding, whereas I was in a household with 5 siblings, like total is 5 of us, and I was the understanding child. A couple of my other siblings were not understanding. So it didn't matter what you said. If it was a no and it wasn't what they wanted to hear, they were upset. But eventually,
Doesn't
as they
everybody care about them being upset? No, I'm just joking.
no, I mean for real, that's basically what it comes down to. And as they get older, then they'll realize, like, God, like I was really mad that Mama wouldn't let me go to this party, and yada yada yada. We couldn't stay out till 1 o'clock. Like we had earlier curfews than everybody. But I'm like I said, I'm definitely that number 2 authoritative. Strict, but I do want to take into consideration your feelings. So it's difficult.
What about you, Alex? When the girls want to spend the night over somebody's house, how do you feel about that as the father of girls? Like that's kind of scary for me.
Well, the girls have actually already stayed over at a friend's house. Jay, who was our guest,
Right.
and his wife Tugane, who's Aisha's best friend, sorority sister. Abby, we met Jay. Well, let me back that up. Abby met Micah when they were both 3-4 months old. They've been around each other. So I think it's going to come down to, for us, one, the relationship we have with the parents, what we know about the kids, what we know about the family. It'll definitely only be, obviously, girl friends whose house she stays over. As she gets older, high school, and a bunch of her friends have a sleepover for a conversation. Ramel, hey, my daughter's having a bunch of her girlfriends over for a slumber party. You know, if I'm informed that I know about the family, cool. I'm cool with it. Um, but it's really just going to come down to me, what type of relationship I have with said family, before I allow it or disallow it. And again, it'll be a conversation my wife and I have, pending upon the family, pending upon the situation we're in. And it'll just come down to relationships. So I have no problem, with once they get older, giving them their freedom to a point. But it will be structured, because I know for me, not having that structure, I was able to do what I want, basically, has not benefited me as I grew older.
Right. So
Um,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll say so, and I think that's one of the reasons why I am I'm somewhere in between authoritative and authoritarian, just because my structure growing up, I was basically raising myself at the age of 13. Uh, Nobody checking on me to make sure I get to school. Nobody checking on me to do my homework. No one checking on me to do my chores, whatever I
So
need to
they
do.
had the uninvolved parenting style where you were just basically on your own.
Well, I don't want to say my dad was uninvolved, because we moved out of my grandma's house, and it was my dad and his second wife and my dad's second wife and I. You heard me. I have nightmare battles about that. Uh, and he was working 60 hours a week. So it was like, what was it? I was a boy. He was on his own, really, at the age of 11, 12. He had to work. I was by myself. He, trusted me to make trusted me to so trusted me enough to get my stuff done without having to be told. But it was the no, you're not doing that. Majority of the time that I didn't have.
Right. I'm gonna tell a story, and then I want to get everybody's opinion on how they would have handled this. So when Aiden was 17, he had a friend who was already 18, and I am very strict. So I would not allow him to stay out past curfew, because back in the 70s, during the Atlanta child murders, they set a law that children had to be off the street by midnight, some kind of Atlanta restrictions. And they enforce it, right? If you're under 18, you can't be out between these hours. So I told Aiden he had to be home at midnight. So here comes 1 o'clock rolling around, and now he's still hanging out with this 18-year-old friend who is able to be out because he's 18. And so the mother calls me and says, I'm going to pick up the boys. I said, well, you don't need to pick up Aiden. And she said, well, I can't just leave him out there. I said, yes, you can. He's doing perfectly fine out there right now. You can leave him out there. And she said, well, I was just going to bring him home. I said, the only way Aiden is getting in this house tonight is if the police bring him here. That's the only way. Now, I know Aiden was mad as hell, weren't you? You shaking your head.
Yes, I was.
Okay. I know he was mad as hell. But the reality of it is, you don't run my house. She didn't run my house. And so she said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, if you must do anything, take him to the police station. That's what you do. So when she got there, she tried to flip the script on me, but it didn't work. And instead, Aiden got a lecture from the police telling him why the
How
rules.
did she try to flip the script on you?
Well, when the way she told it was like, I refused to pick him up. He could have been at the house at 12 o'clock. That's what you were supposed to do. So the way the police officer told it to me on the phone initially was almost like I was neglecting him or abandoning him. But really, I was setting the stage for him to understand that you don't do whatever you want to do. Period. That's it. And that there are reasons and rules why you can't just stay out past 12 o'clock. He could not comprehend why he could not stay out past 12 o'clock at 16 and 17 years old. Didn't understand it. So the police officer I talked to the police and I said, I'll come down and get him. It was only like 5 minutes away from here. He didn't get in any trouble, but the police officer gave him a good lecture. Do you remember that? You remember that cop?
He gave me he don't make it seem like he was just lecturing me, because he really, that I talked to him, he didn't even care. He really didn't
Well,
care.
he doesn't really care.
He didn't
but
care,
at the
but he
end of the
was-
day, he told you why the rules are as they are.
He explained it down to me and he broke it down, but it wasn't in the sense of he was just, you shouldn't be doing this, you don't need to be doing this.
Well, you didn't do anything
I
other
know,
than
I'm
stay
just-
out.
Yeah, I
so.
know, I'm just saying, but he was like, I don't know, just make sure you're doing what you need to
Well,
be doing.
that's not what he said when I walked up.
He was like, he broke it down. He said all the rules, make sure. But when I was there waiting for you, he really didn't. He was like, okay, like, I don't know.
I would have guessed that he broke it down to Aiden in a more of like a man way.
Right.
But when you came in, he was like, "No, Mom, I did this and I did that," and looking over to Aiden, give him a look. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
man.
think it was a bad thing. I just think he explained it to him so that he could understand, because for some reason he wasn't getting it when I was explaining it, because every day we had to have this fight until he understood, until somebody else broke it down for him and said, this is why we have these rules in place.
Well, look, let's be real. As a parent, you can say something to Aiden and him not understand. I could use your same exact words and say the same exact thing verbatim to Aiden, and he'll understand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it really just comes down to he'll listen to me a little bit more than he'll listen to you because you're the parent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, isn't it? But to be honest, I think you're a little harsh on that situation.
Mhm.
And the reason I say that is because of the climate of society. I understand, I'm gonna have the door locked. You better be home. I'm not letting you in. Blah blah blah. But thank God nothing happened. But let's say you better be home at midnight. Keep his ass on the street. Blah 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 blah. And the worst case scenario happened because you were trying to teach him a lesson.
Oh, yeah, I think about that all the time. I definitely think about that all the time. But you know what the reality of it is? It's a simple fix. Do what the fuck I say. You be in here by 12 o'clock, because otherwise you run the risk of getting locked up just being out there. Period.
Yeah, but there's got to be a point where, as a parent, realizing he is, Aiden, we're just going to use you as an example. He is becoming a young man. He's going to make his own decisions.
He was 17.
Right. Look, I understand that. But there's got to be a point where, he's at that age at 17. He can go, well, you know what? I'm okay. I can rebel hard against you. Now you can go harder. It's different. I think ages like 11, 12, you're a little stricter. You bam, bam, bam. I think as they get a little older, there's a little more of a compromise. There's a little more to say, look, this is still my way, but I want to know why you're doing what you're doing. Let's talk. Let's get this going instead of, no, you're doing it this way. And as you said earlier, Aiden, you didn't understand why she was so authoritarian, whatever. Where's my tongue's not working right now. Authoritarian.
Come on.
The other one. Thank you.
I'm
Gee.
authoritative and
Look,
authoritarian combination.
I'm going on 3 hours sleep. Leave me alone. I got to a point where he didn't, he was like, I didn't understand then. I understand now. But I think he's also at that age to say, no, I want you to do this. This is why I want you to do this. This is what I'm trying to get accomplished.
We've done that. And at 17, that's what I did. But the reality of it is, let me tell you. So at 17, if he misses a certain number of days of school, they don't kick Aiden's ass. They come kicking my ass.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if he's outside at midnight and look at her mouth. Can she hear me? She can't hear me, can she?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
So it falls on the parents. So that's a problem. And that's where, and I always explain it. I'm not the parent that just says, do exactly what I say and that's it. I tell you why I'm doing it, why the decision has to be made that this is the way we do it. And if you choose to work outside the parameters that have been set, then you have to live with the consequences. And if the consequence is that the police are going to come knocking on my door, then you better get your shit together way before then. Because he stayed out past 12 o'clock many times. And I told him that night, don't call me at 11:55 and ask me, can you stay out? Don't do it. Because tonight is not the night.
And
And
see what
he-
I say.
But real quick, I'm gonna.
Really quick. What I was gonna say is that hearing your story, I can definitely see. I'm imagining myself and Jesse having this, situation come about. And with Bella, I'm honestly not sure if he would have did that with Bella. With Taj, 100%. 100%. He'd be like, no, his ass want to stay out. He can find a way home. If the police want to pick him up, the police can pick him up. And then I would have been in the back like, well, Jesse, what if blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. But I've gotten to the point where we have learned which parenting skill, which parenting technique is the best for which situation. So Bella has always been very, very stubborn, very stubborn. And from the point that she was little, from the time she was little, I was always, I just want to talk to her and explain to her, about stuff. But then it got to the point where it's just like, I'd have to tell her, Bella, your dad is going to get on you. And I can't try to rush in and save you because you're not responding to the way I'm trying to teach you. So it depends on the child. It depends on the situation. And sometimes that hard, that slap in the wrist is not enough. It's not enough because if I don't come down hard on you, someone else is.
Exactly.
I'd rather I do it instead of the streets do it. Exactly. And so that's how, I'm not really I'm gonna let you, you want to keep jumping off that ledge, I'm gonna let you jump off and fall. I'm not that type, but I've learned from Jesse, you got to fall because you're not listening. And I'm not going to keep telling you over and over and over again, stop jumping off the ledge, stop jumping off the ledge. You know what? Jump off that ledge. You might hurt something. You might scrape something. I hope to God you don't break anything. But if you do, I can't save you because even if you try, you can't keep them underneath your thumb because they're going to do what they want. And the more you try to keep them underneath your thumb, the more, usually they just break out and rebel.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think, Alex?
As a child that was neglected, as a child who was locked out in the rain at the age 13 by his father's second wife, I will never, ever, ever lock my front door for my children. I don't care what time it is. I will never leave them out. I will never say, I don't care. You got yourself in this situation. Figure it out. I told you. Now you're, for lack of a better phrasing, you're on your own. Hell no. Nope. Not.
Well,
Nope. And maybe what?
As a 13 is young.
Well,
that's young.
That's young.
Right. But
but that's neglect. We're talking about two different things. We're talking about children we're not talking about neglect though.
We're not talking about two different things. The reason we're not, 17 years old, what is he legally still considered?
An adult.
No, he's a minor. You're a minor.
You're a minor. 13-year-old is a minor. 17-year-old is a minor. We are talking about minors.
But we're also talking about, you're talking about neglect, being neglected, and that's not the same. That's not, I don't agree that it's the same because what I did wasn't an act of neglect. What I did was an act of parenting. That's my parenting style. You listen to what I tell you to do. Now I get where you're coming from. I get it, but it's not the same. Because I wouldn't put myself in a situation and say, you know what, I locked my 17-year-old son outside just because. What?
Look, at 17, 18 years old, I've had doors locked on me that were not supposed to be locked.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Nope. We'll never, I don't give a fuck how old you are, how young you are. My door will never ever be locked for my child. End of story.
Well, that's a good thing.
Now,
That's your style.
but also, like, Alex, so like, okay, when you were getting locked out, were you rebelling? Were you like uncontrollable? Were you the one that they had to tell over and over and over
I
and over?
honestly, no, I was considered a third wheel.
Oh shit! See, that's a problem. See,
Yeah.
that's different. See,
So,
I find
but
that like
like I
that's
said,
like if me having a boyfriend over and I'm gonna lock the door and my son can't come in the house. Come on,
well,
that's dumb shit right there.
right, but I can only parent through my experience as a child what I would have done differently to me in that situation. Now, granted, look, my situation was completely different. Kids aren't being locked out at, well, I'm not saying they're not, but I was locked out 13 years old in the rain with my dad's second wife looking down at me. And I had to call my father from a restaurant. And I sat outside on the curb for 4 hours waiting for him to get home.
See, that's
Now,
some fun shit.
right,
And
look,
Yeah, that's bad.
I'm not saying it, yeah. Now, I can only parent through my experience. That experience with that, and then being locked out and neglected from my mom all the way till the age 40, and I'll be 46 in a couple days. I can't fathom not having a constant open door for my child. I don't care what situation they're in. I don't care when they call me. I don't care if I tell them to do something and they do not do that, and they make their own experience, make their own choice, and they fall down, to use your phrase, or they get arrested, or they call me in a situation. I said, hey, I told you need to be home at midnight. It's 3 o'clock. The door is locked. So deal with it. Figure it out. Nope. I don't care how old you are or if you're 17, 18, 40.
well, that was
I will be there. I don't care. I may not like doing it. I may get mad. I may yell at you. I may discipline you. I may berate you for a minute. But I cannot tell my child deal with it.
I mean, I understand that because, like I said, that seems very.
It's like it's my even talking about this right now. I'm fighting back tears.
Yeah, that seems a little. I mean, that situation is. I feel it's different. What happened to you? That's a
I can only speak from my experience.
right. I feel that's a different situation. I mean, I'm not sure what the hell the circumstances were around that.
I wasn't wanted at that point by the person my father was living with. Now
That's some
we
bullshit.
left that person, went back. It was, oh dude, I could, yeah. Now here's the crazy part. When I lived in California, I went back to visit my father and hit her. And he was like, hey, when you come to my place, if you're out, can you change a couple of light bulbs for me outside on the driveway? Yeah, sure, not a problem. Pouring rain, right? I go out there, I knock on the door just to let them know I'm there. I'm outside changing light bulbs. She opens the door, shuts the door. I go back, it's locked. Pouring rain, just got done changing. I'm banging on the door, She opens the door. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm here to see my father. Did you tell him I'm here? She says, no. I'm like, dude, what's going on with you? Why don't you tell my father his son is here? Because you're only here for his money anyway.
That situation is different.
It's a fucked up situation. Now, granted, look, I was locked out in the rain from this woman at the age of 13 and at the age of 26-ish, somewhere around there. So granted, I can only parent through my experience. My experience has
but what
fucked up
she
as
was
that
doing wasn't even parenting. She
I'm
just
not saying,
didn't want to be bothered with you. That's what it is.
I'm not saying it is. I know it wasn't. It was a fucked up, and everybody knew it was a fucked up situation. And I didn't deserve to be in that situation. However, that's the situation I was in. That was what I went through.
Well, I'm sorry you went through that. That's just fucked
You know
up.
what?
What do you think, Aiden? What
It
do you
made me
think
who I
when
am today.
what do you think when you grow up? How do you think you'll parent?
I don't really know how I'm gonna parent, but I'm kind of falling on the same spectrum with Alex. Like I don't the stuff. Not saying that I went through a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but just it's just certain stuff that I know when I have a kid, I'm not gonna do. Like I'm not gonna do it. Probably not gonna beat my kids. I'm not gonna hit them because it didn't do nothing for me. So
It sure the fuck didn't.
it didn't do it didn't do nothing for me. So I'm probably not gonna hit my kids. I'll talk to them. Like everything can be. Oop. But it's I don't know. It's just like certain stuff that I know that I'm not gonna do.
So when Aiden was like 3, 4 years old, I thought he had ADD or ADHD. I took him to every place. I mean, I just was like, somebody please help me figure out what is going on with this boy because he was hard head as hell. He didn't want to listen. He used to curse like a freaking sailor. It was ridiculous. And we did this show. We were on a show. And the people come to the house to film and they said, I think you were 3 or 4, right? And people come to the house to film. So they say, Aiden, I know you do a lot of cursing. What words do you know? I promise you, motherfucker, bitch, son of a gun, blah, blah, blah. But he ran that shit down so fucking fast. I'll never forget. I was embarrassed. He was jumping on the bed and on the sofa. And when I took him to the doctor, and the doctor's like, well, he's just on the high level, at the high end of high energy, as he's pulling the fucking blinds out the window in the doctor's office. And I'm just like, because I had been at the point where he was getting spankings all the time because all the shit he was doing. And I was like, I can't do this no more. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. So I took him to the doctor. I was like, medicate one of us. Give him something or give me something because something's wrong with one of us. I can't take this no more. And he was so fucking hard-headed. So he is not lying. Them ass whippings did not one fucking thing for him. Not one. And he's still hard-headed to this day.
That
You
sounds
know?
like Taj. That sounds like Taj right now. But I'm gonna tell you what Taj's problem is. When he doesn't get what he wants, he has this big, huge smile, and he goes, "Please." And
Aww.
oh my God, everyone just melts, and it's just kind of like, okay. And you know who can get him in line though? His dad in a hot second. Like I'll be spatting out like, Taj, you and I'm just like, he's not understanding. He's not listening. He's not getting it. Let Jesse come in and tell him one time. Oh, he fully understands. He knows exactly what's going on. But at first I wasn't spanking him because I'm not against spanking. We got some whoopings when we were little, but I'm not against it at all. But I do understand that sometimes it can do more harm than good. Like I said, you gotta assess the child. But I tried to do the whole talking thing first. But with Taj, no, the talking is not gonna help with him. I had to get with him a couple good times. It took a couple good times for him to know I was serious when I say, I'm going to whoop your butt if you don't stop, da, 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 da. So then eventually, after he knows I'm serious, it's not an empty threat. After he knows I'm serious, then he's like, all right, I'm gonna start listening that first or second time because I know after that third time, it's gonna be some repercussions. So, yeah.
What about you, Alex? Did you say you don't spank?
No, we'll here and there. So here's the thing, like my battle, honestly, is like I'll tell Abby, hey, I need you to do this, and I need it done by here. Just do this, blah blah blah. Okay. What did I tell you to do? You told me you need me to do this. 2 hours later, Abby, did you do it? No. What'd you do? The total opposite. What did I tell you to do? I told you to do this. So if you know I told you to do this and you can repeat, I told you to do this, why are you doing the exact opposite of what I told you? I don't know.
Mm.
How are you helping? How are you? You know,
So do we spank when do we spank because we're angry, or do we spank because that's the way to make them fall in line? Like for me, I had to decide that I could not spank him anymore because I was angry, because I was mad all the fucking time, because he was always doing some shit.
I think it's one of those things like if your child accidentally spills milk, you don't spank.
Right.
But if you tell your child, hey, watch it, don't spill the milk, and they turn around and dump the cup on the floor,
Ooh.
why'd you do that?
Ass
I don't know. Right. You know, I think the situation is different. You know, it's definitely should never be a first reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, there's a fine line that has to be walked when it comes to it. I mean, because there's times like Aiden, you said it didn't work. And there's times I spanked Abby and it didn't work. But there's times I spanked her and it did work.
Mm-hmm.
But I do realize that me breaking it down to her why I want her to do certain things and the benefit of her being a good listener are sometimes more effective.
Mm-hmm.
But that's usually after the fact.
So where do we draw the line as far as parenting? Do you, Alex, you basically said you'll never lock your doors even when your kids are 40, but like, do you have a timetable that says, you know, I'm not raising kids after this age for
Nope.
them, their age.
Nope.
So you're going to keep raising them until they got, because I've
I-
seen 50-year-old men that need raising continually. I mean, and their mothers are still doing it.
Well, you know, I think there's a difference between raising your child and being there for your grown child. Because there's always going to be points where they're going to need me for advice. There's always going to be a point where Aiden's going to need you for advice. You're always going to be parenting, you know, but I'm not going to be raising them at the point, because there's going to come to a point where I'm like, look, you're a bird, fly. But
so what is that? What is that point? Like, I mean, because like I said, I've seen situations where, I mean, there's a situation going on right across the street from us, right there, that house right there, where it's grown men living in the house, and they rely fully on the parents. They're grown though, like grown. When do you stop? There's a difference in, like you said, being there for your kids and continually raising the kids. Like when I say raising the kids, I mean you're guiding their daily life.
I think it depends.
That's what I mean.
I think it depends on the mental capability of the child.
Ain't none of them.
No.
They don't seem to have developmental challenges over there.
Yeah, well,
they just are not mature.
I have a cousin who is 3 years older than me, 2 years older than me. He has never lived on his own. He's always been at his parents' house.
And in this house right here too, this man is raising these girls continually.
What man?
Ramel, you realize we can't see the house, right?
Oh no, I'm talking to Aiden.
He's dead.
He died?
I've been said that. That old man that was sitting on that porch.
He died?
He been died.
Damn, I know that. Okay.
He died like a year or two ago.
He didn't die 2 years ago, because I cussed his ass out around the corner one day, so he didn't die 2 years ago.
I remember seeing him walking, but he died.
Maybe he died because his parents neglected him.
No, he was the one that was raising them girls, and all their boyfriends in that house. It was crazy. Sit on the porch.
All right, so all right, back. So I think it depends on the child itself. If like my cousin, he's not, I don't want to say he's not all there mentally, but there is a little bit of cognitive disorder. He could live on his own.
That's different though.
He could live on his own. He could.
In that case, I can see it. But I mean, just a grown person that has no desire to be responsible? When do you, as a parent, say, that's it, I'm done? Do you have any idea when you might say that, Simone?
Simone, before you
Um,
answer, Simone,
I
hold on,
feel
before you answer that, I, do you really think that we're going to raise children that won't be responsible enough to be on their own?
I'm not saying that. What I'm asking is the generic question. I'm not talking
Okay.
specifically about your children. I'm simply saying, as a parent, I know that I have a specific set of rules in my house. When you're 18 years old and you go to college, I need you to use those years to kind of grow up and find yourself and discover. And then if you need me, I'm still here. But I don't expect you to come back here and I'm raising you. I need you to start flying. That's when you need to start flying. So I know that I have that specific set of rules. So I'm not saying that you're going to raise kids that way. I'm just asking you, do you have an idea in your mind when you may say, okay, when the girls get this age, I expect that they should be on their own, and we can start doing this or that. Do you have any idea where you might feel like that, Simone?
So I feel that after the age of 18, once the kids turn 18,
Okay.
we'll or 18, but once the kids turn 18, we have to have a game plan. I have to know exactly what your plans are. Are you going to college? And I'm not going to force my kids to go to college because I do understand that we live in a world that going to college doesn't mean you're going to be successful.
Right.
So if you don't plan to go to college, what is your plan? Are you going to a trade school? Do you have someone that's going to take you under their wing and you become an apprentice or something? Do you have something else lined up? So that will be the first conversation that we will have. And then second, you're not going to just stay here just rent free. You're not going to stay here and not have any responsibilities. So if you are going to stay here, then we'll talk about that. We'll talk about your responsibilities in this house because you're no longer a child in this house. You're an adult. So at the age of 18, are you working? If you're working, what my plans? If you're working, you're going to pay rent. I don't care if it's $200 a month. You're going to pay rent. I'm going to set that aside for you. You're going to continuously pay rent until either I have saved it, like, well, you have saved up enough money that you can go and either get your own apartment or whatever it is. But then also, that it's just I want to make sure even if you're in my house, you're still prepared for the world. But that's why as we do discipline a little bit harder as they're younger so that when they're 18, if Bella says, I'm ready, I know you're ready. I know you are because we have instilled so many morals and values and skills for you to be ready at 18. But it's definitely a conversation. But I would never, we don't live in the world where I can say 18, goodbye. Like we just don't live in that world because you can't just go and become a manager at the bank. Like I remember I had a youth pastor, no school, and I don't even know if he had a high school education, but he was able to successfully become a manager at a bank and do very well for himself. You can't do that anymore without school. So it's definitely a conversation, but by 18, we're having a full conversation and I need a game plan.
Okay. So Alex, what you think about that?
I mean, I love that idea, Simone. We're definitely gonna have a game plan. I mean, but at the end of the day, as a person who moved out at the age of 19, came back at 21, moved back out, moved back. I don't look, as long as there's some type of plan, as long as we're moving towards a goal, I have no problem you being here. If there's no plan, well, let's figure out a plan. But again, I'm not going to be like, well, you don't have a plan. You need to figure it out. You need to start adulting. I don't know. I don't forever see that happening. I will definitely, we've already talked about plans, setting up situations, doing certain things to make sure they're in a positive environment that is going to help them grow as they get older. I know for me, when I decided to study acting, my dad was like, look, financially, as long as you're going to school and trying to make a career out of something, I have no problem helping you financially, because he could do it at that point. But he goes, if you're not going to school, if you're not trying to make yourself a productive member of society, I'm not going to help you. So I love the whole idea of, having him pay rent and then putting the rent aside, for the child. I don't know how we will handle that at that moment. But at this point, we have already started talking about, setting them up, so if they decide not to go to college, they decide to go to a trade school, that we as parents have put them in the best situation to succeed.
I'm not gonna lie. I used to be that parent that would be like, if you don't go to college, you got to get the fuck out my house. But as time has worn on, I have evolved, and I'm in agreement with you guys about making a plan. And plans change. Plans can change, but making a plan and giving that support to our children, because they need it, even if you feel like you've done your job. Now, you can't be 50 years old living up in my house doing all that bullshit. No, we can't do that. But while you're young, I want to give support. Aiden, do you feel like I'm doing that?
Yeah, I feel like you're giving support, and you want the best for me, even though I be messing up
Yes,
and
you
making
do.
mistakes.
Yes, you do. Oh, Lord have
Oh,
mercy.
hold on. I have to say, Aiden, it was kind of funny watching you push yourself back in the chair and grip the hand. Yeah. Let me get a couple inches away.
He was like, let me get ready for this.
But you know what, guys? Aiden, do you have anything else you want to add to this conversation? Any advice you can give to the parents over there from a child's perspective or a young man's perspective?
No, it seemed like you guys have good parenting skills. Like, you guys have adapted good habits for your children, and that's always good. Like Alex said, you guys can only really go off your experience. So what my mom might experience might be different from Alex, or what Simone's experience from her growing up as a child might be different from you, Ramel, and then my experience growing up as a kid is going to be different from everybody, from all three of you guys' experiences, maybe. So,
and especially the times that we're living in.
Yeah.
Well, guys, anybody have anything else they want to add? Because this has been a really good conversation. I'm enlightened by and encouraged personally, because I see that the world that we're raising our children in is very harsh, but we've got some good people out there trying to do good things and make sure that we turn out the right kids. So I love it. Although we may have different opinions, I do appreciate your styles.
Well, thank
Anybody?
It's definitely not a black and white type of thing at all.
Definitely, I agree.
No, this isn't Secrets of the Black Household. This is Secrets of the Household.
Okay.
At the end of the day, as parents, when we put our head down, we just gotta, as long as we know we tried our best and what we thought was in best interest of our child, best interest of their future, best interest for society. That's all we can hope for. Look, we've heard stories where kids that grew up in the worst structures whatsoever go on to be beautiful citizens of society. And we've heard stories of kids that grow up with everything in the world and then some, grow up to be murderers.
Yep.
And a lot of times it has nothing to do with the parents. It has to do with the individual child, and the decisions they make. Because, Aiden may, some years down before, maybe like, you know what? I saw my mom do something, and I'm not going to do that. And he may not realize he said that and may not remember right now, but when he's in a situation, it may just be one of those things that he doesn't realize why he's making the choice, but he's making the choice because of his experience as a child. So we're going to go off our experiences, but we also just got to really do what we feel is going to be best for our child. And if we all just do that, if we all just there for them, what else can we hope for? At the end of the day, we're content. Our heart is happy. We're trying.
I think I always say to my kids when they bring up like things that maybe I changed my parenting style a little bit or I did something different. I always say when you know better, you do better. And when I go to sleep, all I want to do is make sure that I put out the best that I could for my kids, which in turn will come right back to me because ultimately they're going to be the ones in control at some point. So I just feel like as long as a parent is continually trying to do their best, you can't even ask for more than that. You can't.
Yeah. They just have to feel that love.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, that wraps another wonderful episode of Shit Your Mama Should Have Told You and More. I am co-hosting with Alex and Simone. My name is Ramel, and we had Aiden here. Aiden didn't even know when he woke up this morning he was going to be on the show.
You didn't tell him?
I didn't tell him shit. I just said, come on down here and get this stuff together, and you're going to be on the show. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. It's always good.
Talk to y'all later. Be safe.
Follow us on all social media platforms. Don't forget to check out our podcast link in our bio and like and share.